We are live. You know what? Do you ever? I feel like you just wait for me to say something,
I always do.
and then I feel awkward at times, like today. So we're live in the green room.
You had this look on your face where you're just like, oh, is this going to be the time that he's going to start before me in the 7 years that we've been doing this? No, not today,
I don't.
folks.
Yeah, and I'm wearing a hood because it's freezing cold.
You look
Freezing
like,
cold.
you know what you look like?
I do look like Bruce Willis, huh?
You look like Bruce Willis in
I have no
Unbreakable.
hair, just like that guy.
Yeah, see? He wasn't wearing the headphones, but like you can like pull the brim down just a little bit, like you're just like, no, kid, I'm not the
Yeah,
super. Yeah,
but yeah, you
go.
usually don't see his whole face.
Yeah, you can like
It's like this.
go jump in a pool like that. Didn't he jump in a pool in the movie?
He did a lot
Yeah.
of things. He did a lot of stunts, death-defying stunts. So,
Yes. And then sort of defeated Mr. Glass. Mm.
Mr. Glass,
Such a classic film.
is it? It's based off a comic book, isn't it?
I don't.
Or is it
don't
just
I think
written to sort of be like a comic book storyline?
I,
Because you
that
have, he's the good guy. You have Glass, and then you have the other one, Split.
well, that's not that movie. That's that other movie. Yeah, like
Well,
that's the
with
trilogy.
McAvoy,
Yeah.
but that is related
Oh
to the
yeah, it's the
same
same
storyline.
universe. Yeah, yeah. It's all in
Yeah,
the same universe. Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I
Split.
I want
That
to
that
rewatch all that again.
Split. That one kind of creeps me out.
It's pretty. Well, so there's three.
Right.
There was Unbreakable. Was it called Glass?
I think
The other
so.
one, and Split,
Yes.
and they're all in Split. No, or
Yes.
Glass,
Split.
because wasn't one just about McAvoy,
Oh yeah, there was that. Yeah. I guess they're all
but then
in
there was one where they're all. I don't
in.
remember now.
Yeah. I have to go back and
We
we.
how did that stump us? The stumper.
I don't know.
Oh man, I'm freezing. It's one of those things. This is what happens in Michigan when you're up here in the mitten.
Mm-hmm.
When
Need to get those curtains closed and just keep all that radiant heat inside the.
Yeah, that's true. And when you go outside, you get cold. It's hard to get warm again
Yes.
sometimes.
Gets in the
And
bones.
chill bones. I heard that on the radio today. I haven't heard that saying. Like gives me chill. But it's not the same though. Chill bones are like goosebumps. So, so for those that are watching this green room live part, we're going to take a timeout in an essential timeout. Not We're not going to stop talking. We're actually going to sort of capture
Ooh,
a little recording
it's the hand signals tonight.
to capture to reintroduce an episode we recorded around Thanksgiving that we need to that is not yet posted because we shuffled the deck, right? Shuffled the deck, and so we need to kind of be courteous to our listeners, record an intro that sort of places said episode in better context. So we're going to call it Remember Thanksgiving, right?
Yes,
Because
that's what we agreed to.
Thanksgiving is still, I think, a fun enough holiday that
I thought you were going to say isn't that long ago?
No, I wasn't gonna. I got the bus. The bus clearly is. I deserve to be under the bus. But it was still a good episode. We don't want to sacrifice it to the cutting room floor. So
There are no lost episodes, folks.
no.
We thought we did lose one once. We did.
I know.
We
I
but we
think was
found
that
it.
season 2 or 3?
Yeah, it was pretty early on.
It was a
Yeah.
long time ago.
Yeah.
I still will never hear the end of it though.
No. No.
All right,
Sorry.
so how do you want to do this? I guess just like we typically start all other
Yeah, when we have to do
things.
we'll do our own, like people can watch. This is watching the magic.
Yeah, yeah. This is the behind the scenes. This is stuff people pay extra for at Universal Studios.
Yeah, this is like if we had a Patreon, like this would be in that. But we
yeah.
don't because we're doing this live.
We might actually have a Patreon. I
Did
think
you-
I might have set up an account once.
Did you set up an account once and just forget you had a password?
Yeah.
Are you that guy?
Well, I don't forget the passwords because I have a good system for that. I just forget that there's so many applications connected to the podcast, like our merch stuff, right? I think I have like a couple of areas of merch, a couple areas then to promote the merch, and it's like this. I was talking to Sam, who
It's like Kurt's Dynasty. Like
listen,
this is his like.
oh, I hate it. I need to consolidate. I was telling our friend of the podcast, Sam, cousin Sam, over the holiday weekend. I need to like tighten up, especially the merch channels, right? So anyway, again, behind the scenes, behind the scenes, which it starts to get less interesting, I think.
Yeah, at that point. Can you hear the dog?
No.
Okay.
Oh, I wish I could.
I can hear her.
I'm sorry. Mine is slumbering. All right. Well, since we want to get on with the show, right, Jamie? So
Yes.
You ready?
We got to get moving.
We got to keep people interested in the behind the scenes.
Yeah, this is behind this. This is the Patreon.
All right, ready? I'll do the timeout.
Okay. Now we're gonna count.
Hey, Jamie. How's it going?
No, we gotta count.
Count.
Yeah, you gotta count.
Count
it
what?
down. Count it down. Then we're gonna
Count what? Feel like 3, 2, 1?
like it'd be like, okay, are you ready?
Oh. All right, start over.
Yeah.
Here's the timeout.
Okay, yeah.
New
That means
timeout.
we're getting that's yeah.
We'll do it
Okay.
with the other hand.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna count down. Ready? 3, 2. Hey, Jamie. How's it going?
Hey, Kurt. Yeah. So this
So
is
prepared.
this is that time where we get to acknowledge that we almost skipped an episode.
Right. And so just to keep it brief, catch everybody up, what you're about to hear was recorded around Thanksgiving time. And so we would like to claim that this was a tryptophan induced dream. So just go back in time to remember the Turkey Day, Thanksgiving, which, for us Michiganders as Lions fans was a positive experience because they won and they continued to win since we're now in the future. But anyway, I don't want,
Don't
go into it, because
don't give
San
away the plot.
Francisco's, it's a little
Don't give
dicey
away
this year.
don't give away the plot. So, so folks, this is an episode that we're affectionately titling "Remember Thanksgiving."
Yep. So basically, essentially, disregard any references to episode number, and then just go back in time a little bit and reminisce of your long weekend on the couch. So enjoy. 3, 2, 1, or should I 1, 2, 3? There we go. That was good. That'll make it easy. And then I'll do another timeout, and then I can bookend the timeouts. Right? All right. Who's in the chat? Anybody?
That was just magic. That was just mad. That was pure magic. You're like wearing like your like druid hood. And you're like, Stonehenge is right over here.
I know. I
ready for my human sacrifice.
For those watching, I know it probably looks obnoxious for me to be dressed like this, but it's very cold in Michigan. It was 8 degrees. The sun was out though, so I can't complain. It's now 16 degrees and dropping. So anyway, that's the weather report.
It's winter.
Yeah, I know, but it's when it's way below freezing, it's not fun.
No, this guy doesn't like the cold either. So
Just
I
sucks.
gotcha. Yep.
Anywho, at least the
All right.
sun was out. So you want to move on to the
I'm ready.
the show because it's
Yeah, let's do the show. We did the homework. We did the
we
hard
got some
part.
college football playoffs starting soon, and people want to do watching that, and probably don't want to be watching us and all that stuff. We got some sketches and some current events. So I guess
it's a new year
and a new year. This is this is week 2, 2025.
Yes.
2025. I did the math. All right. I'm going to hit the intro. Oh, hey, Jamie. How's it going?
It is year 7.
I heard the dog now. Oh, come on, Tink. She's like, how many more years of this do I have to live with?
Like, is this the story?
Yeah, the other co-host is over there.
Yeah.
Just giving up. Totally giving up on their owners, right?
Yeah.
I think, don't you ever think that Ellie and Tinkerbell have their own little
they've got a private chat. Yeah.
Private chat going, talking trash.
Yep. There's like an old iPhone around here that they've stowed away, and they're just like,
yeah, that's probably true. I was an early adopter. I had a first generation iPhone, and I kept it, right? Except I can no longer find it, and I'm sure Ellie has it stashed away.
Yeah, she's got it stashed. So, I mean, you're thinking museum piece, and she's like, that's my lifeline.
The lifeline. Exactly. Oh, the dogs, they keep us sane.
Yes.
Also drive us crazy. I saw this I won't be able to repeat it, but it was a Instagram little reel. I get a lot of dog reels. I'll probably get more now that I'm talking about it. But it was just like this dog saying, I'm like the source of my parents' joy and also stress, something to that effect.
Imagine if you had a cat too. There you go.
Yeah, well, luckily I'm allergic, and so it keeps the animal population down inside this house. So no, I like cats, but I just can't breathe. I think all cats like me, probably because they know I'm allergic, and so they always tend to rub on my legs and befriend me.
Yeah, they're trying to kill you.
Yeah. The sniper attack.
They're like, this is a weak one.
Yeah, they be knowing. I know. So, this is week 2 of the new year. It is, football playoff night. So in this live stream recording, I don't expect too many visitors unless they're not super interested in sports. But unfortunately, the 2 hosts of this podcast are.
Yeah, we do like the sports.
So we are going to try and keep a nice little concise window. So therefore, this banter session is now over.
Yeah, no more banter. Let's get to the main event. Well, not the main event, but the other main event.
Right? Have you seen the First, the quickest aside: Squid Game 2.
Can I tell you something?
Sure.
I never saw Squid Game 1.
Mm. Well, therefore,
But I know,
my story won't fly at
I
all.
know what it
You
is.
should watch the first one.
I think I should. So was the second one disappointing? Is that what you're telling me? Through
It's a tough one. Well, once you know what happens in Squid Game from the first season, it definitely desensitizes a lot of the second season.
Hmm.
But there are some twists in the second season that, I still watched it, and now I got to wait for season 3 because the other thing, and this is not a knock because obviously Netflix is not going to change their business model for me
Right.
yet, our podcast, but I'm not a huge fan of when companies put out a season, quote unquote, a season, and it basically ends at what would be the halfway point of the season, right?
Right.
So that this is an example of season, and I'm not spoiling anything. I hope people don't. I mean, it's out long enough. I feel like. Anyway, they get to the end of the quote unquote season, and they're definitely not finished. So
So as a phenomenon,
first season, start to finish, boom, 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 boom. You're like hooked.
right? So as a phenomenon, like did that sort of like let's break it at the mid-season mark? Did that did like am I wrong to remember that that happened with Game of Thrones? Like they were the ones who started that sort of phenomena? Like the
I don't know. I
like
mean,
like a like season 5, or am I
yeah,
just
yeah. I don't know. I mean, yeah, there's definitely been plenty of shows that like
Oh yeah.
call it, and sometimes they'll announce too, like the first part and the second part is going to come 6 months to a year later,
Right.
or whatever their time frame is. But yeah, I don't know if it was the first, but I know with streaming, right? I mean, this it's sort of this give take, right? They've given us all the episodes at once, so we don't have to wait for them. Except for HBO, they don't do that, but Netflix does. So they'll give you all the episodes, but they're gonna give you half of the story, and they're gonna make you wait for the other half. So they're taking the full experience from give take. Anyway, it's anyway, we don't need to.
I'm not sure it's
Well,
that simple, but I like that you're trying to explain it.
well, they're taking my money too, right?
Okay, there's the real truth here. Okay, so speaking of taking
Yeah.
money,
Yes.
trying to transition us back to the pre-main event,
Right.
which is where we talk about the coffee.
Right. Right.
So New Year,
Understood.
season 7, I was bound and determined to, before this episode, to find a coffee that I had not ever had before, or a company I'd never had before. I don't
Ooh.
know why. It's like one of those, like, I don't know. It's another artificial rule. It's like a mental challenge, which not a high bar there, but I did find one. I even brought props.
Sounds exciting. It's nice dark
Nice
bag.
dark bag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kicking
So
horse.
Kicking Horse Coffee, and it's just, I think this is the Kick Ass blend.
So does that make it a donkey?
It is a donkey. That's a little
Oh, it
donkey.
is a donkey.
Yeah, it's a little tiny donkey, right?
Well, I guess a kicking horse is a donkey,
Yeah,
right?
but it does. It's got like a really it on it. The flavor notes on the bag are sweet, smoky, audacious. I don't know if that's like their tagline,
I
maybe,
like that.
but it's
Wait, is that? Have you opened it and
yeah.
drank
Oh
from
yeah,
it?
yeah. I
Oh,
had
okay.
it. Yeah, yeah. I
It
opened
looks
it and then
so full.
well,
For those
I had
watching,
yeah, I
we're
had a little bit,
doing
and
some measurements.
I didn't make a big batch. But yeah, because it's the beans. So,
Oh, good.
but
Well, challenge accepted. Even though you didn't propose a challenge, but now I'm going to go try and do the same thing.
it's good. I'm pleased. So
So you like it? Dark roast. I like it. Kick ass. That's a good starting point. You know, I want to just give a quick shout out to Chris, who's watching, our friend Chris Novelli up in the Boston area. So
probably equally cold.
yeah, I would assume so. Let us know, Chris, for as long as you're watching. Give us the weather report. We tend to do this for
We well,
we
yeah,
ask for
we do.
weather
Yeah,
of friends. You
yeah.
know.
I think we're getting old.
So then yeah, let's segue back. Oh, Chris is gonna be in Dallas. He says in a few weeks. So he needs
Almost
some.
Texas.
He
Almost
need,
Texas.
he's asking for coffee
Is-
shop recommendations though.
Oh, well, see, I can't. Why can't I ever see these chat? Oh, there. That's why, because I had
Oh,
the full screen going on, so I
'cause
didn't
you-
see the chat. Forgot I was
Very
in the
cool.
full screen mode, folks. Yeah. So yeah, I will send some recommendations your way.
Sounds.
Also, Dallas is a big city, so yeah.
25 and windy. You know, we're at 17. It was 9 degrees when I was driving, 8, 9 degrees when I was driving to a house site visit this morning. But anyway, we don't need to recap the weather any for at least my weather. People have
Right.
already heard me complain enough.
Okay,
So
so I'm just gonna say, Chris, um, because you, depending on where you are in Dallas, um, like kind of, and if you're there for a little bit, one of the, so we've talked about this on the show recently when I had my, and I think it actually is in the sketch that's coming up, um, the Denny's mug, right? So we were talking about the
mhm.
ubiquitous coffee shop and sort of the throwback and whatever. Um, one of the other, and Kurt told me about the concept of a diner. Explained what a diner was to
Oh,
me.
East Coast diner.
Yeah,
Chris
East
probably
Coast
knows.
diners. So apparently, my dog, um, Tink really
Tink
likes
knows
the.
too.
She's like, diner. That sounds like a place where food is. So um, anything about the dining or food experience, she's all over it. There's certain trigger words, um, but that poor little pug. Well, she's part pug, but the uh, point was that another go-to coffee joint that I really like in Dallas is Cafe Brazil. So also
Brazil's in Dallas?
they have a Cafe Brazil in Dallas. And it's kind of like a diner chain, and but the coffee is always on point. And that's where I'm sort of, yeah. So good food, also multiple locations. So you can go to the Bishop Arts one, you can go to the one in Deep Ellum, you can go to the one kind of a little bit
Close.
north. So there's a couple different spots. So there's an uptown one, but yeah, that's but it's very kind of classic Dallas diner in a sense. So
Right.
like it, coffee's always great. So
Well, there we go. That's some real time advice. Friend to friend.
yes, highly recommend. There are definitely other coffee shops that are a little bit more um, boutique, we'll say, but that really kind of depends on where you are in town.
Like the
But
$4 coffee. We talking $4.
yeah, I mean, where there's some ambiance beyond just the diner ambiance.
Ambiance. There
So
you go. So so for me, since I didn't understand that we were venturing out to new coffee territory, I am just um, cracked into a bag of the Coffee Sketch podcast coffee. I try not to do that. Try and try and it's still a merch item
right,
for sale. Link up there or over there, over there.
that side. Yeah,
That side. Wait, that side.
nope.
Right up here.
That side. That one. Yeah.
Yeah,
There you go.
Anyway, so I did commandeer. I did for Christmas I got an AeroPress coffee device. I don't know if you're familiar with AeroPress. It's like a engineered made designed this thing, and it makes a cup of coffee kind of like a French press, but it's it's like a plunger and air tight chamber, so it's like pushing air. And anyway, it's supposed to make a nice cup of coffee.
I like how you said supposed to.
Well,
Supposed
it's
to make
only
a.
supposed to, because I lost a part of it already.
Oh God, Kurt. This is why we can't have nice things.
I know. I wonder now, the part that's going to really burn me is if I can't find just that part, and then I have to rebuy more.
There's a thing called the internet.
Well, I'm going. I just haven't. I want to hope that I haven't given up hope yet that I'm going to find that part.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be with that first generation iPhone that your dog is hoarding.
Don't you ever wonder if people or ghosts or entities just take things away from you?
Are you talking about the people in the walls again?
Yeah. Yeah, they just kind of.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna take that. You're gonna look for it forever. It'll drive you crazy.
Kurt has a basement, folks.
In Michigan, we have basements.
Yeah, and that's where. Well, anyhow, we're not
It's
going to
next to the 3D printer.
Yeah, we're not going into the true crime podcast Reddit that Kurt.
Right. We should probably stick to the schedule.
I think it's time to go to the sketches.
Yeah.
And I mean, because you actually curated this is we're back, folks. We're back to the momentum where Kurt starts to generate some curated content for us in advance of the episode, and we've got a few different things to talk about today, and I think it's going to be a good one.
Yeah, we always try and raise the bar right around the new year, just like New Year's resolutions, and then by week 3 we're back to our old ways.
Oh,
I'm kidding. We're
throw out the script yet.
I know, right? So we have a few sketches. Well, I guess depending on how you define sketch, maybe we have 2, and we have an AI generated image that I created. And then we also have a little link to an article of our dear friend Evelyn, who is now AI national president, and been on the podcast, and we've been on her podcast and all this. So we're not going to read you the article per se, but we might chat about it in a summary form.
I think it's. I mean, I'm glad that you included it for this episode, because I think that effectively, it's a new year, folks. It's 2025, and I kind of casual update was I was able to participate in AIA Governance Week at the end of last year. So I'm actually a new at-large Strategic Council representative for AIA National. And so I'll be doing that for the next 3 years. And so because I was in DC for Governance Week, I got to be at the inauguration. So the transfer from Kim to Evelyn, and sort of celebrating both, celebrating the end of 2024 and then the beginning of 2025. And this week, an article came out from AIA, kind of highlighting kind of the start of this year for Evelyn and the things that she's kind of focusing on and sort of sharing with kind of the broader membership. And so I'm glad Kurt sort of suggested it in here. And I don't know.
I'm just going to put that there.
Kurt's throwing out quotes. I don't know if there's a quote from the article.
Is this
quote? Yeah, I figured
this is the first sentence that came out of Evelyn's mouth.
Okay.
In the under the question, what are we looking forward to in the new year?
Right. Okay.
But yeah, I was just teasing, just
Well,
trying
and
to
for the
tease.
folks who are listening to this podcast and don't know what Kurt has just put up on his whiteboard of magic,
Well, the first point of that is you should be watching the live stream. Second point is Jamie's right. I should have announced what I pasted into the video. However, go ahead.
well, I was going to
Tell
say
us.
is that, it's, it also, as Kurt is, apt to point out, we do have a live stream, folks. So, season 6, am I correct, was the first year that we did the live stream, or does that go to season 5?
I think it's already. I think 5. I think
Goodness.
5. So we're
Wow.
in the third year of this.
This is the third year of us like doing these episodes live. There is no net. And so season 7, year 7, thank you, buddy, for doing this with me. But yeah, the quote that Kurt has put on the screen from Evelyn's interview was, "I do think it is time for AIA to address AI." She also goes on to talk about kind of housing
Mhm.
and the business case for architecture, and thinking about the membership at large in a lot of those kinds of conversations. And I think that all that stuff's really kind of interesting. But I'm glad that you centered on this, especially with your sketch that you're putting in as sort of a casual prompt.
Yeah. So I prompted prompted ChatGPT to make me a image for the new year, and I don't remember exact prompt. I'm gonna have to get better at kind of grabbing those, but basically, give me a New Year's image based on what it knows about me, kind of a prompt, because uh, I talk a lot about architecture, sustainability, and teaching, right? So it's sort of I asked it to make the 2025 fit in a college campus. And this is what it gave me. And I thought, well, okay. Well, there's solar panels, there's some cool funky buildings going on. And
So explain to me, if that's sort of the context of this prompt, the carousel.
well, it's kind of like a gazebo / carousel. It doesn't
Oh.
really have, yeah, it's a little gimmicky, I suppose, in the front foreground. But maybe it's like a gazebo in the middle of the quad.
I think it's better as a carousel. I need
Maybe it means that college campuses should have carousels.
Yes, we need to
In
have
the
more
quad.
fun. I think basically it's what we're saying is there needs to be more fun in 2025. Yes, you're doing some serious business and some serious schoolwork, but let's have some fun with it.
There is kind of like a fire pit next to it too, so
So fire and a carousel and I don't know. So
this
what it
whole
makes me
level is like a roof terrace that has it's just all trees on the
there's
roof
a
terrace.
lot of green roof going on there.
There's a lot, yeah. There's a lot, yeah, just a lot to handle in the one image. So
When
anyway,
when I
we don't
saw
need to dwell on it.
No, but when I did see it, I did think carousel, but it also made me think of there was a
It looks like an Apple store.
yeah, it could be that.
I mean,
too.
not a Norman Foster designed Apple store, but
No, like an Apple, like a Norman Foster knockoff. Like we're gonna get you in the carousel / fire pit gazebo, and then walk down the steps in the middle, and then the genius level.
Yeah.
They're going to
Yep.
sell you some first generation iPhones, under the green roof. So,
Yep.
no,
So-
what it made me think of was South by Southwest. Here in Austin, and we were just talking about a lot of Texas stuff a moment ago with some of our live listeners. And in Austin, we have the South by Southwest annual festival in the spring. Definitely not spring right now, But one of the pieces of that is you often get these sort of pop-ups with industry and technology, and um, the one that sort of made me think of when I saw that image was GE decided that they were going to create an installation of a carousel. They painted the whole carousel, like every inch of it, in white paint. So all the horses and lions and birds and poles and
Uh-huh.
everything, all the decorations, but it was solar powered. So it was a completely off grid in the middle of a parking lot in downtown Austin. This white carousel that was free for anybody to get on and twirl around. So add that to your LTU campus, and maybe you're there.
I'll propose it as a yeah the next structure added to the
And
campus.
maybe you can 3D print it. So
Yeah, we got that technology. So we don't have to dwell on the fireworks. But I thought it'd be fun. I'm gonna try and as I told you offline, I'm gonna try and sprinkle in a little more ideation imagery from me, and maybe riff off of your sketches a little bit. And we can go back and forth on some of these. But going back to the sketches that you've produced recently, we have two. I brought in two, and we don't necessarily need to dwell too long. Or I think um, they may not, for those that are watching, may not seem related, but when working with Jamie, there's always from page turn to page turn, there's always some sort of thread that can be tied through sketches. But on the left is the Hockey Hall of Fame building, which I thought was just a nice composition in general, with a nice ink, black ink on paper across 2 pages of the sketch. The building itself has a really nice sort of set of classical or neoclassical proportions, um, and form. It seems like an interesting corner building, compact, neoclassical in design. Doorway on the corner, which is a Seinfeld no-no, but we'll let it go. I'm sure, but it looks great as a composite. It looks like your photo has the watercolor in there as well. So I don't know if you're sneaking that in there.
I was sneaking it in. Yeah, yeah. Keep
And then
going.
on the right hand side, actually a couple of portrait sketches. But then if we zoom in, I'll zoom in a little bit real quick, and we can come back. But your Instagram post sort of hashtag hybrid portrait and hybrid sketch. So you have overlaid like these objects. What you've done in a lot of your other, when the word hybrid landscape or hybrid sketch sort of comes in, or is termed in the hashtags. So these sort of abstract images or abstract shapes and forms are sort of overlaid on top of the portrait, which I don't know if you've ever done quite like that.
No,
That's kind of
you're,
cool.
yeah. Thank you for describing it that way and sort of posing the question, because that's exactly the case. Is that I have never done um, a portrait with that kind of element of my style that I've slowly been experimenting with, and I think that that's one of the things that um, you know these are actually, there's two in this image that Kurt has on the screen, and done on different days. So there was one, um, and then a follow up the second day. So the first one was a real experiment. I was describing it to Kurt, was just sort of Googling, um, on my phone, just Googling like sketch portrait, and pulling up all the images, and then just sort of doing the doom scroll through it, and in this particular case, didn't rest on any single one, but did that for a good little bit, and then just sort of left the screen up and active, and then did a really really quick sketch, and did the initial sketch with kind of a graphite pencil. So water soluble graphite, you can apply it just like you would sort of like a kind of a hard pencil, but um, the similar to like a Conte crayon or something like that, where you get sort of some other tones to it, you can use your watercolor to kind of kind of get that. Um, Anyhow, the this one in particular was sort of a hybrid, a hybrid of different elements from different photos, not any one in particular, and then going back in with a pencil over the top of it and sort of pulling out some of those pieces of the face and sort of the structure, and in doing that also starting to add in these layers of kind of the hybrid reality, kind of the regulating lines that sometimes we'll do when we're thinking through plan, section, elevation in an architecture kind of world,
Mhm.
but doing that kind of over the top of this landscape of a face. And the first one, literally an experiment. The second one, actually, settled on an actual person's face, an actual, tried to, found in that doom scrolling, saw a portrait of Ana de Armas, the actress, and um, said, okay, well, tomorrow I'll do that one. And so this is one of those situations where I was already sort of setting myself up for the next day. And I think that what's interesting to me is sort of the difference between the two, but also still trying to kind of play with all of those ideas. Um, and I think it was just a good experiment. I'm glad I tried it.
Yeah, I like it a lot. And I actually think, well, there's a few things that I will suggest, but the first thing to point out is the first image, the left sketch, the left portrait, as you described offline, and then as you just described now, that the sketch itself is sort of a hybrid of multiple portrait images of persons, right? So then you're not actually drawing one person, but the influence of multiple images generated or was generated through the your sketch, you know, into this image, which technically, or I don't want to necessarily say technically, but it is one of the ways AI uses to develop images is the diffusion model, which basically starts out as noise and then filters it down into what it perceives as or understands as a portrait. So in your own brain, you're sort of developing that generation or that image generation, which then moved through your hand, which is kind of interesting. I think that the analog to digital comparison. So it's not too far fetched, even though my drawing was not a portrait. But I think that's kind of interesting. And then so now you have this image of a person as what our brain can perceive as a portrait of a person, and but
Well,
it may not be somebody that exactly some person,
right. Well,
one person.
and I like the way you kind of you know framed that, because I think that it's um, you know when you sort of sit down to sketch the blank page, and we've talked about this, is if you don't have something necessarily in front of you and you're sort of working from imagination, um, or in this case multiple images, and trying to kind of ascertain what you're going to do, it's kind of like giving yourself a prompt.
Mhm.
um, but then also at the same time, like you're describing, it's almost like this machine learning where you're taking this diffusion model and pulling pieces of it to eventually sort of render, a concept or an image. Um, it's what was, I think, the what I found myself doing with it as opposed to the second one. The second one, because I'm working, directly from an individual portrait, was similar to situations where you're looking at a building or a scene or a setting and you're trying to render what you see. Is there's a freedom in the first one, and sort of and you can sort of see it in the sketch too. There's an increased looseness, of using that graphite pencil and then coming back in with the wash on pieces of it and then layering on top of it. Whereas the second one, um, same materials but didn't do the wash, so all that is graphite and pencil. And what I found was that it was, um, a slower, but also, um, but I still was able to get to the kind of hybrid landscape of the face as a feature and kind of pulling in some of those lines.
Mm-hmm.
And that was sort of the other thing for me, was like, could I keep up this kind of concept and sort of test it in multiple situations for myself. Um, so happy with that as an experiment, but definitely there's more to come with it, I think.
I think I'm trying to find my little. I guess I'll have to just.
Yeah,
I
draw,
was
please.
just going to draw on this thing, but so the this sort of the shape that's coming out of the regulating lines, the hybridized, sort of overlay, is starting to look kind of like a mask,
Mm-hmm.
like either a superhero mask or some other kind of, another shell or a layer over top of the person, right? It's just a very hint. It's the hint of this shape because it kind of turns around the eye, or it might be the hair, like a strand of hair that sort of frames a bit of the edge of the eye. But so that I find is interesting, because then it could be this sort of fragmented shell, or another layer of beyond the face. And then I was going to suggest is that you could also, I don't know if you've done this before, but I have some other artist friends that are subtractive and not
Right.
just additive, and so use those lines to be the boundary of what is erased. So then erase the portrait in parts of those, where it, you pick a boundary, you pick a side of it, right, and sort of just erase. And then, so then it starts to become this sort of erosion or decay of the portrait, which, I thought could be interesting. Just an idea.
Well, it's the thing that, it didn't register when I was doing the first one. But the way you're sort of describing the second one, I will admit that there was, I think, because it was an actual portrait that I was like trying to render properly, and then also do this experiment with kind of the lines and the shape and the shadow and the texture that you're talking about. At that point, when I was doing the second one, it did sort of click in my head that I was clearly being influenced by this Montreal artist, um, this woman. I forget her first name, but I think her last name is Chevalier,
Mhm.
and she does these amazing kind of, um, faces that are collages where, um, similar to what you're sort of sketching over the top of this about sort of some of those areas and as maybe subtractive. What she does is she has sort of a portrait that is either painted or drawn, and then there's, collage of other material over the top of it to kind of fill in and sort of flesh out, the volume of the face, and it becomes sort of a whole nother composition I'm not describing it and doing it justice. But she does some really really interesting work, and she's worked with. We've talked about her before on the podcast briefly. Um, she did a mural in Austin with Shepard Fairey,
Oh, okay.
and
Okay.
but yeah, I didn't catch myself sort of thinking that way in the first one. It probably was in the back of my mind, but on the second one, the next day, I think because had sort of set up these rules for myself, I kind of, as I'm drawing it, I realized that the influence of seeing some of her work is definitely evident in this kind of mode of drawing, and what you're doing over the top of it, I think, is sort of even highlighting that even more for me, and maybe the impulse is to get back at this
Well,
train of drawing.
well, you know what? It's sort of so. See if you can follow. I think it'd be pretty easy to follow. So I was quickly trying to paste in this image, um, partly because it was part of my 2025 AI, trying to create a New Year's image, and I started with, and I sent you a couple off. I didn't post them on Instagram. I thought you might. I was thinking that you might use it because from our first episode of this season, we always pick our words, sort of a word to describe thought process, things that we're kind of going through and wanting to explore. And you chose kintsugi from the Japanese art of sort of repairing broken things with gold line work. So now the way you explain Chevalier and then your sketch and the sort of thought process, it sort of is I think subliminally is this kintsugi is a sort of exploration of kintsugi in how the hybrid components, and these lines, uh, are sort of abstracted, and I think it could be really interesting to down keep going down that path for a little while, or maybe let it be and revisit, especially as we kind of work through the year of our words, right? And I was trying to my image that I plopped in here real quick was I was trying to say, I wanted a robot polishing a kintsugi piece of pottery, with the word with the numbers 2025 for the new year in it. What I really wanted it to be was I wanted the numbers to be the pottery and the
Mm.
robot polishing the numbers. But it couldn't, it kept screwing up, and it kept separating the concept of the pottery and the number. And then for some crazy reason, it when it would make numbers as pottery with the robot, it would drop the 5. So then it was 2002 or 202, and then there was one image where the robot was holding up its hand, and I was like, maybe that's the 5 is in the hand. And then it went to 203 for some reason. It just added a number. It went up, and I was like getting so frustrated. So I stopped, and then I went, I just let it go. But anyway, I kind of thought it had every time it did a different kind of a robot.
Well,
Um,
I mean,
you know,
this could be like alternate logo for Coffee Sketch Podcast. Kind of combination of like Kurt curatorially, like you know, bringing in that AI robot to play with the kintsugi or kintsugai um, pottery.
or did I
So
mispronounce it?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not. I mean, you know me with pronunciation, that not my forte. Um, you know, but no. Thank you for sort of indulging that one, because I think it's um, and bringing that up and sort of making that connection for me is, I think you're right. I think there's some subliminal thought kind of going on, and it's influences are certainly coming from lots of different places, and taking a little time off during the holidays gives you some time to reflect. And I
Yeah.
definitely was able to generate some interesting stuff in the sketchbook. I mean, the Canada sketch was, usually around this time of year, I'm always thinking about home and things like that. But, um, in this case, I do a lot of rehabilitation work, and adaptive reuse work in architecture, historic preservation. So you've got a building that's from the 1880s, um, and built as originally as a bank, and is now the Hockey Hall of Fame. Um, the original architect, I think it's Frank Darling, um, was uh, RIBA gold medalist. So definitely an architect of note that was practicing in Canada. But yeah, I think that that's sort of the, for me, it's like thinking about home and sort of this connection to architecture, even though, um, definitely the first in my family to be in this profession. But um, I think connecting place and stories and buildings and things that are important to me, I tend to do this around this time of year anyways. Probably it's because hearing stories from family, spending time with family. Um,
Yeah. Sure.
the books, interestingly enough, fun fact, um, those books are ones that I got while I was in architecture school as a gift from my uncle. He sent them from Canada and said, here's some architecture of the Great White North. You definitely need to know your heritage. And so much appreciated. I definitely look at them from time to time, always finding some interesting gems in there. But yeah, I brought this, sketch to bear in the book at this time because it's kind of what I do right now. And this building, I've been to it. It's very cool. Hockey's obviously important to
Is
my
it
family,
is it
but
Montreal
no, this is
or
actually in Toronto.
okay.
Yeah, this is
Okay.
in Toronto,
I'm
downtown.
unawares. But that yeah. Oh, that's cool. The best architecture book is the one that's gifted to you. I
Yes,
always like I think cuz in your case it's family, right? So they're trying to encourage the craft, but I always I don't get them very often from friends or family. But I did get two this year
oh,
from Danielle in Christmas, and it's always fun when it's gifted to you because you're you're not you're yeah you may have a list. I have an Amazon list of a lot of books that I'd like to have, but it's the ones that is chosen for you
right.
by the person. So they're trying to think about, well, which one do I think they will like for whatever reason, and that's the best part, the mystery of it.
It's the thought that
The
counts.
surprise. Yeah.
That's
So
um, well. Thank you. Um, definitely the thought counts, and this has been fun.
yeah, and give me a minute because I got to tee up the old
Well,
outro.
get ready for your superheroing because you look ready. You're all dressed for it. So
Well, I'm just trying to stay warm. That's the name of the game. Oh, I should say one. I know we're trying to do the outro here, but um, you mentioned Evelyn, or we talked about Evelyn's inauguration. She is actually currently in somewhere in your backyard, not your actual backyard,
no,
but
no.
she is in Austin. And then for those that are listening, if any students of mine that are uh, listening to this or watching the live, is that we will have Evelyn at Lawrence Tech next month. I'm giving you the news before even the dean gives you the news. So this is the spill the beans moment. This is letting, what do you call it? Stealing the thunder, all the thunder.
You are this is like, okay, so we've talked about this, folks. Is
Spoiler alert.
Kurt is the nice guy, right? He doesn't like to, get into the, any of the shady territory, but he also is, he, like myself, both terrible at keeping secrets. So him, like the giddiness of him wanting to reveal this news and the genuine like excitement about it, that's all true.
100%.
100%.
The genuine artifact. So yeah, so February 6th, Thursday, Evelyn will be lecturing, and I won't give away what the lecture is going to be about because I really don't know yet. So she asked for some ideas, so I gave her ideas. But anyway, yeah, we'll probably try and revisit. I'll try and maybe make a little bit more formal announcement again. I mean, come Monday, the dean's going to announce this. So
Well, that maybe means this episode has to officially get published before then.
yeah.
Oh, challenge
yeah.
accepted.
But now, I have our other one to get done too. So
That one's in the past.
so it can come any at any time. I guess it could. We've now anyway. All right, we got to let people go. So all right, thanks, Jamie. We'll talk soon.